My next guest picked up one of the biggest knockout victories of the year, beating Matt Wiman in the very first round via a vicious slam. And of course, it is the Monkey King himself, Jordan Leavitt. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
I got to tell you, man, that was one of the best knockouts I've seen all year. I put it right up there with Buckley's knockout. They were both fantastic. Have you noticed just that you've had an amazing, I guess, following change since then? Are you getting a lot more people following you on social media?
Yeah, I had like 3,500 like 5 days ago. Now I'm at like 16,000 something. It's a
Wow.
pretty drastic change. I posted something, I had 100 likes in less than a minute. I never dreamed that would be me.
Fantastic. Well, a very impressive one. Congratulations there on that. What was the game plan heading into this fight?
Um, I was actually planning on a longer fight than that. The game plan was to go out there and pressure him, cause him to panic, and actually get him to shoot. He always shoots when you actually figure out a way to push him back. So I was actually getting ready to throw an elbow, and then he threw that too, and I ducked underneath it. And then I felt way stronger than I thought I'd feel. I guess the weights from the past few months have definitely helped. That's why we deadlift, folks. But yeah, the plan was to go out there, pressure him, and try to tire him out and finish him in the later rounds. But when the MMA gods grant you something, you take it.
That's right. You have to take it. You can't not take something like that. Now, did you know that he was knocked out, or did you think you were going to be able to knock him out with that? I mean, when you landed down on there, I mean, could you just tell his body just went limp?
Um, I didn't plan on a nice slam is kind of like a very good body shot. It knocks the wind out of you. I was hoping for more of that kind of effect. I've cross-faced people before, and I know it might ring their bell, but I've never knocked somebody out that way. Um, and I actually didn't feel him go limp. He actually kind of went stiff, but I heard him snore. So like I went to up to him, and then I knew I didn't have to, go farther than that. Good. I mean, luckily I did back off because Chris was like 10 feet behind us, Chris Coyote. So like I was already getting up by the time he said stop. Um, I hate when if you can, I really hate when fighters give him a few extra ones. But yeah, he was asleep. So I'm very happy I didn't have to hit him again.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the more difficult things to see with MMA is when someone's out and they land a couple more shots on there. Has that ever happened to you before in your career where, maybe someone that you've trained with? I know this was your first, I guess, KO win here, but has someone that you're close with that you've seen that happen to, what kind of a feeling is that to see?
It's really hard when you see someone get knocked out and then someone pound like obviously knock out and they go for like the extra two punches. I understand a lot of fighters, they have to put themselves in a different kind of mental space before they fight. Maybe they have to make themselves like hate the person, want to wish them ill, and maybe they can't find. Maybe since we're all sane people, we got to figure out a way to go out there and perform. But for me, I can't imagine. Like I even hate when I have to elbow somebody. I split open one of my opponents, and I was like, oh no, man, that's stitches. Oh gosh. Um, yeah, it's hard. I don't judge any fighters. I mean, there's very few fighters where I think they really want just to hurt him afterwards. Like there's Dan Henderson versus Bisping, where he's like, I wanted to give him something extra. I'm like, kill the guy. But yeah, it's hard to gauge when to stop. But luckily, I feel like I'm a very level-headed person in there, so I think I can gauge it quite well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're kind of one of those guys that, I mean, I think the average person, if they're not a hardcore MMA fan, maybe they wouldn't expect you to be a cage fighter. What did the people that are closest to you in your life think when you decided that, you know what, I'm going to follow this path?
Um, my family loves me and they support me in everything that I do, but that does not mean they don't question the choices you do. They're like, okay, I mean, are you still doing that fighting thing? You're 23, 24, 25. You're married. Why are you still doing this fighting thing? Boom. Now they shut up. You get the contract and they're like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. And then, this weekend, I think if there was doubters, I think they're not doubting anymore. This is a legitimate um, financial opportunity for me.
Absolutely. Would your family in the past, would they sit cage side and watch you compete? Is that something that they enjoy to do, or they want to stay away from it and not want to see you go in there and get in a fist fight?
I'm not sure if they enjoy it, but they're there. If they can't watch, if they can't be there, they've always been there. Like all of my 9 aunts and uncles, the kids, like we have an entire section when we march out. They may not know what's going on, but they're there for me and they're freaking out. And I'm very cerebral, so I could like hear my uncle say, punish him, or I always hear my mom. My mom's always, yelling helpful things like hit him and stuff. And I'm like, obviously I'm trying. But yeah, my family, they questioned it, but they've always been very supportive of me. They've always bought tickets and tried to watch me when they can.
Your last 2 fights, this one, and then obviously the Contender Series fight, was in front of, really no fans. There wasn't anyone there in the arena outside of the people that were, necessities that had to be there. How excited are you for when that opens back up and you get a chance to go out there and fight in front of a huge arena of screaming fans?
I may actually be in the minority. I've always been around hometown favorites. They've always tried to feed me to other undefeated guys. Only 3 of my opponents had a loss in their record when I fought them. So I was very used to people just booing and throwing stuff at me and cussing me out. And I kind of like not being booed. I'm going to be honest. I kind of like the quietness. It's kind of, it's pretty cool. It's pretty surreal. When you walk out there and you see like, a dozen people behind their little safety glass. And then when you finish the fight, there's a little bit of applause, and then it's just dead silent. You can never get that in an arena. But maybe if people like me, maybe they won't be booing me. Hopefully I just gotta get more popular. Maybe they'll be wearing crowns and monkey onesies and stuff, but who knows? I'm ready for it. I'm a little nervous for it, if I'm being honest, though.
My hunch, and this is just what I think, I would imagine that whenever that time comes, when you are going to be competing in front of an arena of thousands and thousands of fans, you're probably going to be the one that they're cheering for, unless you're going up against another hometown guy after that performance. And then again, you're just a very well-spoken, you just seem like a great, nice guy. I got to imagine that you're going to have a lot of fans cheering for you to see you do well.
I'm hoping so. I've struggled with like shyness and social anxiety. I was always weird and nerdy and mostly soft-spoken until the past few years. And I've always, I've been comfortable in my skin, but I've never really been comfortable reaching out to people and trying to be social. And social media is hard for me. It's nice. It's been a nice, pleasant surprise when after this fight, so much people have been sending love and support. And every little message really does touch me. It does make it kind of all worth it for me. Even for every 1 out of every 2 dozen, jerk offs are just saying mean things. That's why the blog button works, everybody. But yeah, the love and support I've been getting, it's been really touching.
Yeah, well, you deserve all of it. Let's talk about that celebration. I believe there was a meme that went viral in some senses. I saw a lot of people sharing it and commenting on it. Like you get knocked out and then you see someone basically hoisting the person that knocked you out, and you were like spread out, almost like it was like Titanic at the end of the boat there. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I'm one of those people where if you say, wouldn't it be funny if you did this, and you laugh about it and then it's gone. But I'm that person, I'm like, that would be funny, and you rub your chin. I really wish they would have played my walkout song. I walked out to Big Balls by AC/DC, and I had the entire arena cracking up. I really wish they would have played that. But yeah, we were just joking a month and a half ago, like, what if we just did the Dirty Dancing lift? And I'm like, hey, Sherrard, let's try this out. And we tried it. And I'm like, I'm doing that after my fight. So then my teammate, Chris Ruffin, he was in my corner, and bigger, more muscular guy fights at middleweight. So I was like, oh, this will be perfect. So we're practicing it backstage, and he's lifting me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to nail this. So, yeah, we practiced for that. And it was kind of just like, as like a joke, like, wouldn't it be funny if you did this? And I'm like, you're right, let's do it. I feel like a lot of fighters are just kind of afraid to do something weird. I mean, yes, it's very effeminate. I'm not going to lie. Like, extremely effeminate. Very strange, awkward, cringy. All those characteristics are totally true. But, I mean, I'm a meme now. I've always wanted to be a meme, so life is good.
Yeah, and shame on me for comparing it to Titanic. I completely forgot about Dirty Dancing. I guess Titanic is more my era. I remember that movie so much more clear, and I forgot about the Dirty Dancing lift. Yeah, so I won't make that mistake again. I do want to ask you about the differences in fighting for Contender Series versus making your actual UFC debut. Did you feel any more nerves? I know it was still the same setting where there wasn't as many people there, but did you feel any different?
I think I was more calm for this fight. For Contender Series, that was really a wake up call for me because I always felt and I always believed that I would make it to the UFC. But until it happens, you're never sure if it's just a delusion or if it's just you being confident. So when I just got that call for the Contender Series, I had a lot of doubt, and it kind of put this mantle of peace over me. And then when I won my contract, when I got this fight, I kind of felt the same way. I've always just there's always been a little like inkling in the back of my mind about whether or not I belonged at in this sport. I belonged in the UFC. But now that I'm here, there's nothing to be worried about. It's just a fist fight. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting in a Masonic temple or a bar or a baseball field or the T-Mobile Arena. It's the fighting part has always been the easiest part for me. It's always just been the setting around it.
Well, it's interesting to hear you say that because you're 8-0 now as a pro. You were 4-0 as an amateur, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it says on Tapology. I mean, obviously, sometimes as fighters, you get kind of like your hardest work just training, preparing for a fight. Have you experienced some like down times where you were maybe getting beat up in training where you questioned whether you're good enough? Is there something that you can point to that made you think that?
I don't want to sound arrogant, but no, I've never had a sucky month. And even when I do, I've never really seen it in a negative light. Sometimes your training partners are just having a good day and you have a bad day. That happens to all of us. But I've felt like I've always been taking a step forward. I feel like even when I had surgery, I had an injury in 2015, 2016, and I was out for like 6 or 8 months. And I feel like when I came back, I felt the same. I didn't feel any. I feel like ring rust is kind of in your head. Ring rust is just your insecurities and your anxieties about how you're going to perform. But I don't have that. If you do the work in the gym, there's nothing to be anxious or scared about. So I've always felt every month I feel like I've been exponentially better than the previous month. And maybe I may be completely, that may be completely not true. I may not look as good. Maybe my coach will say differently. But in my head, I've always felt like I've been growing every month and every year.
That's good to hear. Tell me, how has the pandemic affected your training? I mean, I know you're there. You got Roxanne Modafferi as one of your top training partners there, and it's a great gym all in all. A lot of great folks there that you're getting the work in with. How has it affected you in one way or another?
I'm very lucky because in 12 months in the calendar year, I've had 5 fights, and I was averaging about a fight a year before that. I was very blessed during 2020 to get 4 fights because for 4.5 of the months, everything was closed. And like every other few weeks, maybe the gym would have to close for a week because of various reasons. I've been super blessed to be able to get all these fights. And yes, I had a few fights where I couldn't train for them. And I just had to go out there and hope for the best. Hope you get that finish. But it's definitely been, up and down. It's been a roller coaster. I mean, there hasn't been a single month where I've been able to trade every week because of the whole pandemic issue. But luckily, I'm a big fan of when you're not able to train to at least meditate and think about what you can do. So then that way, at least mentally, or theoretically, at least mentally, you're more prepared than you were.
For sure. And I do know you like to read a lot of books. Give me one book this year that stands out that is a must read.
Ooh, oh crap! I had to pick one book. So nonfiction, there's this book called The Courage to Be Disliked, and I reread it every like year. It's a self-help book about how to find happiness and how happiness is mostly just not caring what other people think. And if you're tying your self-worth and your mood to outside influences, you'll always be miserable. Courage to Be Disliked for nonfiction, for sure. That book. When it comes to fiction, I love Stephen King this series. I'm definitely on a big Stephen King kick. Revival by Stephen King or The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. I would definitely recommend those books.
I am really just blown away that you mentioned Stephen King, because I was going to ask you if you liked any Stephen King books, because he lives right down the road from me.
Oh, really? You live in Maine? Ah, I'm going to visit his house one day. I love King. I'm a big fan of him and his son. His son's a good author too.
Yeah, yeah. You come to Maine, hit me up. I might be able to help orchestrate that.
All right, we could do that.
Yeah, that would be fun. Now, I do know your wife is due in February to have, I believe, your first child here. Are you going to wait a little bit before we see you in the octagon? Are you thinking you're going to fight? If you got the right fight before that, would you take it, or are we going to see you after that?
I believe conditions would have to be pretty perfect. Stars would have to align for me to fight before my daughter gets here. Like maybe I'm not completely aware of the card in December 19th, but if there was a fight for me on that and possibly and things fell through and I thought the fight was a good matchup, I'd be totally willing to jump onto that card. But if not, no, I don't want to tempt fate. All I would need to be is be in Abu Dhabi or be in quarantine when my wife goes into labor.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever never bounce back from that. So yeah, hopefully March or April at the latest. I'm definitely not. I might take a week off when my daughter gets here, but I'm going to be training up until that point, and then as soon as my wife gets settled in, we're all healed up and have some time together. Going to be ready to jump into a fight.
Awesome. Well, I know all your fans can't wait to see you climb back into the octagon. Congratulations on the win, and congratulations on the soon to be addition to your family. That is wonderful news to hear. Before I let you go, if there's anyone you want to thank or any social media you'd like to plug, the floor is yours.
So I want to say thank you to Syndicate MMA. I love you guys. You prepared me for war. Iridium, my management company, they manage me. They've done a great job. I'm super thankful. A lot of sponsors. I don't want to miss any of them, so I won't mention any of them. If you want to follow me at on Twitter, it's at Mr. Jojo Monkey King. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Monkey King _UFC.